for the warning for the upcoming chapters that we are going to be reading, there will be mentions of a lot of yandere-ish behavior that is very unethical, unpractical, and just downright disgusting. Second, there will be mentions of very kind of, I would say, close to traumatizing memories, kind of. It's kind of like a mix of between, like forgotten memories that you're trying to remember and kind of traumatizing at the same time. There will also be mentions of kind of like abusive / misogynistic type of ways, which you will definitely hear from me from when we read a certain Yandere alphabet. You'll understand when you get into the story, don't worry. And last but not least, there will just be a lot of emotional damage throughout this whole story. So if you're not comfortable with that, please do not watch this story. You have been warned. Hello everybody, so today we're going to be reading There's No Escape, Yandere SCP Foundation X-Listener up in here. But before we continue and start on this, I want to know, how was your guys' Halloween a couple days ago? Was it amazing? Was it fun? I hope you guys had an amazing time and nothing bad has happened to you guys, because there's been some stuff like talking about candies and stuff like that. But I just hope you guys had an amazing Halloween and you guys had so much fun. If you wanna, you can comment down below on what you exactly did on Halloween. What did I do? Sadly, I didn't get to trick or treat. I had to take care of my kitten, but I still did have fun and watch some Halloween movies and all that with my mom, Oh, excuse me. Family time, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't too bad. Like I honestly thought it was gonna be, because like, what is Halloween without a little bit of trick or treating? You know what I'm saying? So, anywho, now jumping back into this, we are not in chapter 16. This is just for the purpose of recap. So if you guys don't remember, basically when I started having a dream and started kind of like tearing up, crying a little bit, because it was kind of popping up stuff from her past whenever she was young. It's just giving her warning signs or hints, or giving us hints as to what she actually is. And she's really upset that she can't even remember their faces, and their faces are blurred. And she starts crying. Eventually, she's like, you got this, girl. Stay strong, right? And it was really sad. So, Dr. Gears eventually got her for a test that was run by like the top people that like watch over everything, to kind of see how powerful her powers are. So they took her, and she got a bad feeling from this, like the whole time, bad feeling. This is not good, to the point where we had to stop and like take a breather. But we had to keep going in, and we couldn't find out we were in SCP-213-7, pregnant lady, Scarlet King, etc. She ended up like feeling like getting into the test, right, and feeling the pain that the SCP was feeling. Eventually, she caused them to disintegrate and live at peace. Finally, and then like the last thing we heard before we passed out, after all that painfully mental and physical process, was thank you. We passed out for, I believe, a couple, I don't even know how long, but Dr. Gears and etc. came to find out that, like, the experiment worked, and that her powers can truly remove these things that are probably really bad for the Foundation. And they were making a whole plan of that, how she can remove like all the SCPs from the world, and the world can be a safe place, and just a lot, And then I think one of them were talking about the end, but before that, Dr. Gears and Dr. Glass had a little beef going on, and how, oh my gosh, I'm better for her, or no, I'm better for her. Just having a little like hissy fit, you know what I'm saying? And then someone was taking like freaking blackmail, bro, and it was a fucking dog, bro. It was so funny. I cannot. It was so funny. Like, it was funny. It's funny. But anyways, like at the end, oh 06 was like kind of like going crazy. He was like, oh my god, she could help. She could save. She could kill all the SCP, and just kind of going crazy. But anyways, that's another recap. Now, officially, we're going to get straight into the story. Now, this is not chapter 17. This is a part of the story, however. This is the Yandere alphabet of Dr. Benjamin Kondraki. And this is like the third one of the Yandere alphabet we had. So, there might be most likely more of these. Anyways, affection. How do they show their love and affection? How intense would it get? He's kind of in the middle. He's not stuck at your side 24/7, like Bright, but isn't as bad as Gears, with not showing affection. He likes neck kisses, both receiving and giving. He likes marking his darling, but at the same time, he likes the small kisses he receives. And then the author's like, all I can see is Wyan kissing Kondraki's neck and having him chuckling, saying it tickles. Blood. How messy are they willing to get when it comes to their darling? He doesn't care much for it. He doesn't need to get dirty that much. He has the intimidation factor that can scare most people away. Some people can't be scared away. Dr. Cleft, Dr. Bright, my version of Glass, and Gears. That's when he'll either slaughter them or blackmail them. Cruelty. How would they treat their darling once abducted? Would they mock them? Once abducted, he would be cruel. He wouldn't mock his darling, but they will be staying in the basement until they accept they're his. He doesn't really do anything that bad except keep them in the basement and ignore all their pleads. Darling. Aside from abduction, would they do anything against their darling's will? Pictures. He takes a lot of pictures. If he tells you you have to pose in a certain way, you're going to pose in that way. Naked, in a swimsuit, underwear, anything. You will wear what he wants and pose in any way he wants. No arguing. Even pictures of his darling do sexual acts. Though, those would probably be taken in a long-term relationship where the Wyan is already gone. He's not a rapist, but he's a photographer. He's probably both. Exposed. How much of their heart do they bear to their darling? How vulnerable are they when it comes to their darling? If he doesn't have his darling's heart, he's not going to be showing any kind of vulnerability. He needs to be strong for them, and he'll make sure he is. Further into the relationship, he'll open up more, but that would be a year or two in the relationship. Fight. How would they feel if their darling fought back? Why? Just why? It's no use, and it won't work. He does hate all of the screaming and crying. It's loud and obnoxious. And it kind of makes him feel bad. That's the point. Game. Is this a game to them? How much would they enjoy their darling try to escape? He doesn't see it as a game and will be a very grumpy man when you try to escape. He's like, gotta wake up at 2 a.m. and go get my future wife. He's not happy. Not at all. Hell. What would be their darling's worst experience with them? When the darling is running away and suddenly gets pinned to the ground, hearing a very dangerous, "Why do you have to run?" and hearing the breaking of your legs. Now you can't run. Then being dragged back with your legs broken. Okay, it's fantastic. I thought you were good, but no. You can take that fat L, Kondraki. Ideals. What kind of future do they have in mind for/with their darling? He wants to marry his darling and at least have one kid. He likes the idea of a perfect little family where he can escape all of the craziness of the Foundation. Jealousy. Do they get jealous? Do they lash out or find a way to cope? Yes. He does get jealous and will kill someone. He does find ways to cope. He'll make it obvious you're his and no one else's. He'll kiss his darling and be all lovey-dovey, making sure the person trying to take his darling away knows it's not happening. Kisses. How do they act around or with their darling? Less intimidating. He's definitely softer with his darling than others. He's still pretty tough around the edges, but less so with his darling. He tries to be a little more friendly. He doesn't curse as much. He talks more. He smiles a little. All that good stuff. Love letters. How would they go about courting or approaching their darling? He would probably be friendlier, showing that he likes them more than other people. He'll leave gifts on the desk of their workplace, even if it isn't the foundation. You probably just assume it's a normal admirer, until it starts getting creepy. Pictures of you at home, going to work, showering, maybe even some pictures of dead workers who hit on you. All that good stuff. And then this is a sample of what he would write in a love letter. I don't really do letters. I don't like them. So I'm keeping this short and simple. I'm going to confess to you, per se. I'll come to get you behind the West Building. Be there or else. Con. Butterfly drawing. Mask. Are their true colors drastically different from the way they act around everyone else? A little. He's not as cold as he usually would be. He also not as much as a dick he could be. He would be much more loving and later into the relationship. In the beginning, he'll be cold. Yeah, but what do you expect? He's an SCP doctor. Naughty. How would they punish their darling? Embarrassment. All those bad pictures he has taken? He would hang them up all over the room his darling is staying in. Every naked picture. All of the clothes he forces his darling to wear. All of those embarrassing poses. They would be all hung in the room for all to see. He would comment on the picture. Look at that one. So disgusting, right? Man, can't believe you wore that. He'd say something of the short until he thinks you've had enough. What an asshole. Oppression. How many rights would they be taken away from their darling? He takes everything away from his darling. Food, clothing, entertainment, etc. Then he'll slowly give them back. If his darling's good, they might be able to go outside one day. Who knows? Patience. How patient are they with their darling? Kind of patient depending on how much work he had that day. He can go from completely calm one day to yelling the next. Somehow, though, his darling always calms him down a little. He just feels like seeing their face brighten. He feels just like seeing their face brightens his day, even if they're screaming and crying. Quit. If their darling dies, leaves, or successfully escapes, would he ever be able to move on? No, he wouldn't. He would probably kill himself. That is only if his darling's dead. If his darling is leaving or successfully escapes, he'll give chase. He knows a lot of people can intimidate people very easily, so he can find his darling by asking for help. Regret. Would they ever feel guilty about abducting their darling? Would they ever let their darling go? He would feel a little bad about abducting his darling and putting her through all of his crazy shit. He won't let her go through, though. He can't bring himself to. He won't let you go no matter how much you weep. Stigma. What brought on about this side of them? Childhood, curiosity, etc. All of his psychological damage. He finds his darling like a crutch or clutch, whatever. His darling is like an escape from the real world for him. All of the shit that the foundation isn't there with the foundation isn't there with his darling. His darling is soft and warm, unlike the hard and cold foundation. Tears. How would they feel about seeing their darling scream, cry, or isolate themselves? He thinks it's loud and doesn't like it much. He can always just soundproof the basement and ignore the cries and screams. He doesn't like it much when his darling isolates themselves. He'll just wait until his darling wants his affection. Unique. Would they do anything different from the classic Yandere? He doesn't need to kill. He can just intimidate or use blackmail to get his way. I can't physically say any more because there's not really any more goes out of the ordinary. He just takes a lot of pictures though. So there's that. Vice. What weakness can their darling exploit in order to escape? There's not really any except just waiting until he lets his guard down, then hoping you're faster than him. Even then, he probably already has loads of bad photos he can use to threaten them to come back peacefully. If not, then he'll reluctantly release all of the photos, which will probably make everyone see you as some sort of whore or a person who likes taking photos in a very weird position. People sell those online. She probably can make a lot of money out of that. Who knows? Wit's end. Would they ever hurt their darling? That's a reluctant yes from him. He hates seeing his darling in pain, but at the same time he thinks it's a necessary precaution for your guys' happy life. He won't kill his darling, and he won't cut off any limbs because he doesn't want his darling because he wants his darling in one piece. I don't even know how to say that. X. How much would they revere or worship their darling? To what length would they go to win their darling over? He likes his darling a lot, but he isn't yelling it from the rooftops and screaming at everyone like Dr. Bright. He kind of just likes them than most people and treats them better than he treats most people. Yearn. How long do they pine after their darling before they snap? A year or two at the most. He can hold it a long time, but he does have a breaking point. Something that pushes the breaking point closer is having his darling getting closer to any other man/woman in a romantic way. Zenith. Would they ever break their darling? Probably there's a chance of him not breaking his darling, but there's a high chance of him breaking his darling. He's a man of much determination. He will try his absolute best of breaking his darling. Well, Kondraki, all I gotta say is you can kiss Mass, because what the fuck, bro. At least it isn't as bad as some of the other ones we read, because those were, oh my god. Chapter 17. A simple bowl of soup and a doll. And then BBN, Big Brother name. Wyan's POV / dream start. I hid myself behind a tree. Wyan, please come out, Father called as I crawled through the underbrush. This is for your own good, dear, he called. I don't want to lose it again. I scrambled away from the approaching footsteps. Please! I felt the back of my shirt being pulled back. Let go! I yelled, getting thrown to the floor. I looked up, seeing my father. This is for your own good, Wyan. Please understand. He said, walking closer with a vial in hand. Back up! I said, trembling as I tried to run away, only to get my leg crushed under a large boot. And then, no. I felt something stab the back of my neck. Just go to sleep and forget, he muttered, as I felt my eyelids become heavy. I slowly sat up from my bed, feeling someone shake me awake. Huh? I asked, seeing BBN. Why are you here? I looked around, seeing the hospital I stayed in when I got in the car accident. I'm leaving, Wyan, he said, looking at me. What? I asked, feeling worry rise in me. I can't keep seeing you. I can't keep seeing you like this. A shell of yourself, he said as I noticed a weird tattoo of some kind of tree on his hands. What is that? What do you mean? I asked. He looked at me sadly. You can't remember because of him. The monster's taking everything from you, Wyan. If you could only have... Maybe you wouldn't have. It's just not fair, he muttered quickly as the two of us became quiet, hearing a doctor pass by my room. I looked at the white hospital door, seeing the shadow footprints walking by. Wyan, don't trust Father. He's not what you think he is, BBN said as he ran over to the window, opening it. Wyan, know that I love you. I'll come and get you. I'll bring a really big weapon so we can kill that thing, he said, jumping out of the window. Dream end. I felt my body jerk to life as I was pulled back into the bed with restraints. What the hell? I started to look around the room, frantically searching for any sign of life. Why? What happened? Where am I? I stopped hearing the fast pace of the heart monitor next to me. I breathed out, taking some soft breaths, seeing the frantic heart rate monitor slow down. I looked around, seeing that I was strapped down to a bed with some kind of IV coming out of my wrist. All right, calm down. I paused, searching through my thoughts. Dr. Gears, I muttered. That's right. I was doing a test with Dr. Gears. I felt my head wonder as it came back to those dreams. Father, what did you do to me? Brother, what happened? I looked around seeing, and I was in some kind of room that had a bunch of hospital equipment around me. I was snapped back to reality as the door opened. I see you're awake. Fascinating. I looked over, seeing a man. You're such a strange creature, he muttered, as he walked over to me, pressing a needle into my arm and taking some blood. SCP-008. They finally let me test. It's been 2 weeks and nothing. Your body's still alive and functioning, he said. Who are you? I asked softly. Apologies, I forgot to introduce myself. I am the one, Dr. Everett Men, he said. Oh, he looks like that KFC guy, just younger. I looked at him and smiled. Nice to meet you, Dr. Men. I'm one Lionellan, I said, mimicking his high and mighty tone. What's going on? I asked, feeling awkward as he didn't answer. How is Dr. Gears? I asked, and that seemed to catch his attention. How much do you remember? He asked. I remember walking to testing with Dr. Gears. Then I remember feeling sick and hurting, so we stopped so I could breathe for a little. And then we started to walk again, and I walked into this room. Oh, God, it was so painful. She didn't want to. She just wanted to rest, I muttered. Calm down, he muttered as I stopped. He's right. I need to calm down. I took a couple of breaths. I looked at the cell. Sorry, I said, as he tilted his head. What are you sorry for? He asked, freaking out. That's all I can remember. He said as he nodded. Are you sure you don't remember anything else? He asked. I remember walking up to her, but that's it, I said as he nodded. All right, I'm going to let you out of your restraints. Don't do anything you'll regret now, he joked, as he undid the restraints. I slowly sat up. You never answered my question, I asked as Dr. Main turned to me. And what would that be? He asked. Is Dr. Gears okay? I asked. He is in one piece, yes, he said as I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding in. That's good, I muttered as he chuckled. You have some testing to do. He said as I looked at him like he was crazy. I just woke up, I muttered. That's true, but all you have to do is talk and eat something. Nothing more, nothing less, he said as I moved the blankets off of me, throwing my legs over the side of the bed. I felt the cold ground on my feet as the door opened to the room, making me look up. Oh, good, you're awake. I looked up, seeing Dr. Bright with a wheelchair. Oh, Dr. Bright, why do you have a wheelchair? I asked as he chuckled. It's for you, dumbass, he said, walking over to me. Now, He paused as he lifted me up and placed me into the wheelchair. There, he said happily as I pouted. I could have done that myself. I don't think I need a wheelchair, I muttered as Dr. Bright rolled me out of the room. Maybe, but the O5 says you need some sort of special treatment, he said. Why? I asked. Don't know, but you haven't noticed, haven't you? You haven't noticed, haven't you? He asked. Dr. Bright pushed me down the hallway. Notice what? I asked. The wing of this building. It's the medical research wing. It's where all of the best doctors treat people and investigate leaps in medical knowledge, he said as I looked around, seeing people running around holding pieces of paper and talking. Huh, I muttered as I saw some people glance at me. Why the long face? He asked as I paused. I just don't know what's real anymore, I muttered, thinking back to those dreams. Dr. Bright hummed. Is that so? He muttered. My mind's so fuzzy. So BBN didn't leave because he hate. I was snapped out of the thoughts when I noticed we started to speed up. Dr. Bright? I asked as he didn't answer and started to sprint down the hallway. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. Dr. Bright converted to a stop in front of a door. Oops, did I scare you? He asked, chuckling as I sat in the wheelchair, gripping it like it was the only thing that keeping me alive. Oh, little, I muttered, looking down, seeing my poor legs shaking. This fucking asshole. Dr. Bright started to laugh as I pouted. Man, you're mean, I muttered. Oh, come on, I did that to make you smile, he said as I looked at him. Thanks, Bright. Fucking ass, I said as he jumped a little. No, Dr. Bright, just Bright. Are you finally warming up to me? He asked very happily as I chuckled. So, behind this door, I'm guessing it's what I will be testing? I said, changing the subject, I see. But yes, you're right. He said as he ripped the identification card from his neck and pressed it to the scanner. You will be testing SCP-348. Pretty much a bowl of soup, he said, pushing me into the room, seeing a table with a bowl on it. Dr. Bright pushed me over to the table, then sat down in his own chair. All right, now just eat, he said as I looked down at the bowl, seeing it was now filled with soup. Wow, cool. I stopped as the aroma of the soup hit my nose. This can't be. I looked up to Dr. Bright. Where did you get the soup? I asked as he looked a little worried. This bowl's an SCP. It's just made of soup. It just made the soup, he explained as I looked back down on it. Hello, everyone. Just before we continued on, I just wanted to do a little bit of research on this SCP, which is... Hold on, let me triple check the numbers because I might have got it mixed up. Hold on. Alright, just triple check the numbers and this is the one. So, we're going to find out exactly what the hell this SCP does. Okay, SCP-348. It's object class safe. And blah, 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 blah. And it's basically what it looks like. It's a white ceramic bowl patterned with light blue flowers measuring approximately 20 centimeters in diameter and 9 centimeters high. While no maker's marks are present, the Chinese characters for thinking of you and then are etched into the side of the bowl. When in the presence of an individual inflicted with a minor ailment or injury, like etc., SCP-348 will fill with soup. While the ingredients present within the soup produced by SCP-348 very young subjects, individuals between the ages of 4 and 18, have constantly stated that they enjoyed the meal, sometimes stating that it reminds them of their parents' cooking. Subjects will finish the soup and found in SCP-348 if allowed. Children who eat SCP-348 several times often express a feeling of content, stating that though they are eating by themselves, they do not feel lonely. And then it has been noted that occasionally after soup produced by SCP-348 has been consumed, a message will materialize on the inside of the bowl. Words produced on the inside of the bowl appear to be printed on the ceramic consisting with existing markings. The message that appears will be in the language most familiar to the drinker of the soup. After several hours, or when SCP-348 produces another meal, the words disappear. Okay, here. Despite the extensive data gathering and testing, it is unknown whether the messages that SCP-348 has manifested originated from the fathers of the subjects or SCP-348 itself. Okay, that's what I was questioning about, because y'all guys will understand as you continue reading on with this. Or, excuse me, listening to me reading on to this. Trust me, this will make a bit more sense on why I'm looking this SCP up, because I never heard of this damn SCP in my life before. Until today, so. Good soup. Slowly plunged the spoon into the soup and brought it to my lips, tasting the absolute disgusting soup. Damn it. I felt tears drip from my eyes as I began to eat more. Is it that bad? You don't have to eat it, you know. Dr. Bryce said worriedly. I looked at him and smiled. It's absolutely wretched, but at the same time, delicious. I said as I finished the soup, just how my father made it. He has no idea how to make soup, but he tried his best. I looked into the bowl as my mouth fell agape. What does it say? Dr. Bright asked. I'm sorry, but please forgive me, I muttered as I felt more tears pour from my eyes. Is your father dead? He asked slowly as I paused. No, he just... I stopped as I gathered my thoughts. My father did something. I think it was bad. Maybe it was not, but he did something, I said as Dr. Bright paused. Do you know what that something is? He asked softly. No. Yes. I corrected quickly, pausing. I have an idea of what it is, but at the same time I think I don't. He mumbled. Are you alright? He asked weirdly. I just need a moment alone. I muttered. Dr. Bright stood up. Okay, we have some time between testing, so I'll give you that, and then we can go. I'll be outside, he said, walking out of the room. I looked back down at the bowl as it filled with soup again. Maybe one more bite. I dipped the spoon back into the soup and brought it to my lips. It's different, I muttered as I slowly ate the soup. So good. I kept eating until I reached the end. I looked down at the message. I'm still with you, Ryan. I muttered as I covered my mouth. Damn it, Pops. I said, Ryan? I turned my head, seeing Kane. Yes? I asked. Why are you crying? He asked softly as I wiped my eyes. Just confused. I muttered as he sat down in the seat Dr. Bright was just in. Want to talk about it? He asked softly. He must know something. This place has many things. Maybe it has something that can make you forget. Kane, do you know things about this foundation? I asked softly. I do. What do you want to know, Ian? He asked as he tilted his head. In this place, is there something to make people forget? I asked softly. There are a lot of things. SCP, genetics, and others, he said. Does any of that come in a vial, like in a liquid form? I asked. Kane paused. That would be amnestics. There are different types, from class A all the way to Z. Although a lot of them can be grouped together. Some can replace memories and some can completely erase a person, he said. Can there be one to erase a specific memory? I asked. That would be Class C, for the removal of specific memories from any point in that subject's life, he said. What are they made of? I asked. Well, they used to be made of random chemicals, but now they're made up of a secretion from an SCP, Kane said. An SCP. My properties. I stood up. I should get going, and thank you for the information, I said, smiling at Kane. I walked over to the door and opened it, looking over to Dr. Bright as he sat on the floor. I think I want to go to the final test, I said. But your wheelchair, he said. I want to walk, I said as he sighed. Fine, but when your legs give out, I won't be there to catch you, he said, standing up. Ryan, you can control things beyond your wildest imagination. These things can be very dangerous, and they do things most can't. You are not affected by their negative effects, nor are you affected by their good. Just like me, Ryan. Please be careful, Inen. There are things you want them to do. They might not do it the way you want them to. A voice echoed in my head. I looked at the ground. Here we are, Dr. Bryce said happily as I jumped. Where are we? I asked softly. This is, SCP-706, the perfect porcelain doll. You have to go in there and talk, he said, opening the door. All right, simple enough, I said as I walked into the room, seeing the room covered head to toe with padding and safeguards against hard surfaces. Hello? I asked softly as I heard the clinking of glass. Hello? A girl said as I walked over to a bed, seeing her strapped down. Do you need help? I asked softly as I looked at her. Let me out, she said softly. I looked down at the straps as I unclipped them, making the girl slowly sit up. Better? I asked as I pulled up a chair and sat down next to the bed. Yes, she said softly. May I know your name? I asked, softly, feeling this girl was very fragile. No, she said softly as I grabbed her hand. Are you okay? I asked softly, rubbing my thumb on her cold and hard skin. No, she muttered, even softer than before. Come here, sweetie, I said as I brought her into a hug. The girl froze for a moment until she wrapped her arms around me and started to sob. I miss my mama, she wailed as I rubbed circles onto her back. Shh, shh, shh. I shushed her as she sniffled. I want my mama. I wanted her to love me, she cried. Now listen, I said as I pulled back from the hug, wiping her tears. Your mother does love you, I said as she shook her head. No, she doesn't, she said. Do you know what the average weight of a baby is? I asked her as she shook her head. It's about 7.8 pounds. Or IB, whatever. Now, do you think your mother would carry a baby of that weight for months and not love it? She carried you for 9 months in her stomach because she loved you. No mother can have a baby without loving it for a second. Even if it's just for a millisecond, she loved you with all of her heart. I said as she sniffled. Understand what I'm saying? I asked as she nodded. Now, in reality, is this true? It is not always true because some people do it as like a surrogate. Some people do it because they're forced to do it. I'm looking at some countries right now. And some people do it because, not because they love it. It's because for attention and for negative things in reality. So, just wanted to point those out and don't think that's always the case. Anyway, I smiled and patted her head. I know your mother loved you. She had to. I smiled. I said, smiling as the door opened. Time to go, Dr. Bryce said as I looked over to him. All right. I stood up and smiled at her. Have a good day. I smiled at her as I walked over to Dr. Bright and walked out of the room. I sighed as we walked into the hallway. Strange question. Do you ever want kids? He asked as we walked down the hall. I always wanted them, though this place is too dangerous and I'd rather not bring life without some sort of plan. I used to, but now that I'm here, that little dream of mine might never come true. Then again, that depends on the person I'm having children with. I said, what if you had a kid in here? He asked, I hope not. This isn't exactly child-friendly. I joked as he chuckled. Yeah, makes sense, he said. How about you? I asked. Nah, I like kids, but my blood isn't something that should probably be passed on. He said, what do you mean? I asked. My family is either all assholes or are so fucked up they can't even recognize the wrongdoings of the people around them. He said sadly, right, TJ. Wait, how many family members do you have? I asked. Mom and Dad. Then I have an older brother and a younger brother. I also have 2 younger sisters. Then my siblings have their own family with their own kids, and it just goes on and on. He said, do you have a kid? I asked, surprising him. I know Dr. Clef has a kid, so I just thought he stopped me. I fucked a lot of things. I probably have at least 10 illegitimate children. I've even fucked a bear on a dare and got it pregnant by some miracle, he said. Wait, didn't he say passing his blood on his blood is bad? Oh, wait, the necklace. It's not his original body, so he can't pass on his genes. You mean curse? You mean curse? Man, that poor bear. I chuckled as he looked offended. I am not that bad in bed, he said jokingly. That's right. You're innocent until proven guilty. And what? You're gonna prove me guilty? He said flirtatiously. No, I don't want to go through what that bear did. I joked as he scoffed. I'm a catch, he muttered to himself as we got to a door. All right, time to go to your new room, he said. New room. He opened the door as I walked through, seeing a bigger room and bed with a Rubik's Cube and violin on the table. Dang, I said, looking around. Remember what I said about the O5 giving you special treatment? Dr. Bryce said, closing the door as I scoffed. Okay, not bad. I like it. Alright, y'all, so we is in chapter 18, Day with the King. Dr. King's POV. I moved my mouse over the files. So bored. I moved some apple seeds from my hair, having them fall on my desk. I want to see YN. Dr. King? I looked up, seeing Dr. Wright. Huh? I asked if she placed some. Got some files for you to look over, she said. Oh, thanks. I said, grabbing them and opening them. Hey, what do you think of YN? She asked as I could feel her praying eyes looking me up and down. Shit. I really don't know. All I hope is that she can get rid of this cursed apple seeds, I said as she nodded. Dr. Crow wants a similar thing. He wants to be human again. Or he can be turned into a crow, like his name. Dr. Wright said, sighing as I nodded. Yeah, makes sense. Probably not fun being a dog, I said. She nodded. Well, gotta go. Please finish these by next week, she said as I nodded. Yeah, okay, I said as she walked out of my office. Too close for comfort. I jumped a little as I heard my phone ding. I hummed as I picked it up, looking at it. I've gotten all the information you want the names you get on the names you gave me. I'll send you an email about the details, and I expect all the payment to go through. I read. I smiled as I replied, I'll make sure to get all your money. I texted as I looked through the information. Man, this is deep. She never had a boyfriend before? Does this mean she never had any sexual experience? I felt blood run to my face. Shit. I looked down at my desk. Maybe we shouldn't think about that. I said as I leaned back in my chair looking at the ceiling. I looked back at my phone. A number. What's this? I read the text near it. This is the only number I could find a family member. I looked at the number. Should I call it? Maybe they can tell me more about YN. Well, they could probably tell me more than these black market thugs can. I contemplated my thoughts. I sighed and pressed the call button. Hello? A smooth voice said, Shit! I didn't come up with anything. Who is this? I said, oh my god, that sounded so suspicious. This is Mason, he said simply. As I heard something moving in the background, I got something. Okay, Mason, tell me this. What the hell is your number doing in my girlfriend's phone? I said accusingly, as there was a short pause. Sorry, I think you have the wrong number. Who's your girlfriend? He said as I paused. Should I tell him? Maybe this will kick me in the ass later. Whatever. I need a leg up right now. I'm falling behind. Oh my god. Oh my god, bro. My girlfriend is YN. Who are you? I asked with an accusatory tone. Mason began to chuckle. Oh, I'm YN's uncle. Sorry to disappoint. He said, well, I knew he was a family member, but I wasn't expecting an uncle. So awkward, bro. Oh, sorry. I just found your number in her phone, and he stopped me. I get it, man. If I saw a random guy's number in my girl's phone, I would get worried too. Mason said, sorry, YN just never told me much about her family. I paused. I kind of want to know more. I said as he hummed. Makes sense. We really don't like talking about family. Our family has always been a little secretive, he said. Then why are you talking about it now? I asked. If YN likes you, then most of the family will as well, he said. That includes me. I don't really like talking over the phone. How about we talk in person at blank calf? He said as I flinched. Sure. I'll meet you there after my work gets out. Around 5 p.m.? I asked. Sure. But first, how's about your name? He said, Everett King. I said simply, Mason Ellen. Nice meeting you. Gotta go. Have a nice day, he said, hanging up. That was a little sudden. I sighed, rubbing the back of my head. Bro, that uncle is a little sus, bro. Time skip. Hello? I asked as I walked into the calf. Are you Everett? I looked over, seeing a man with long blonde hair and gloves sitting at a table. Oh, hello, I said, blushing a little. Come sit down. Let's talk, he said as I walked over and sat down across from him. So, you're her uncle. You don't look too old, I asked as he chuckled. Looks can be deceiving, my boy, he said, lifting up a shot glass. Cheers, he said, downing the shot. You drinking? I asked. A little. Keeps me frosty, he said, smiling. I smiled a little. You know, you're kind of handsome. Can't believe my little YN is all grown up, he said, sighing. Can you tell me more about your guys' family? If you can't, can you tell me about you and YN's relationship? I sighed, looking at him. I'll tell you a little bit about both, he said, picking up his glass, taking a swig. Where do I start? Well, it's best to start at the beginning. My father, or YN's grandfather, is missing right now. My mother died because of a sickness. I have 3 brothers and 2 sisters. Both of my sisters are dead now, sadly. One of my sisters is YN's mother. The other sister died because of the same sickness my mother died from. Sucks, but what you gonna do? Anyways, I have one brother who's an ass and has a family I don't really pay any attention to. My younger brother lives with me because he can't take care of himself. YN's mother got married and had 3 kids, with one of them being YN. The older brother is doing his own fucking thing and only comes back into my life when he wants something. YN is Her The younger brother died in the same accident that took Ryan's mother away. The husband is... Her husband is an asshole. Stay the fuck away from him, he said, taking a sip from his drink. I nodded, looking down at my hands on the table. That was a lot. Sounds like you've had a rough life, I said, sighing, looking back at him as he stared right into my eyes. Ryan doesn't really talk to the family anymore. She usually asks me about the family, he said seriously. Why? I asked. She's not in her right mind, you could say. It's not a fault of her own, but if she talks to anyone, they'll probably cry or something, he said, taking another sip. I tilted my head. How is she not in her right mind? She doesn't seem that crazy, I said as he chuckled. One thing you have to know in our family. Ryan is the most sane in the family. The rest are bad shit insane, including me, he said, smiling at me. Huh? I said slowly as his eyes looked behind me. You see that guy? He asked softly as I used my smartphone's reflection to look at the man. Smart man, he said to me as I saw a guy not too far away. He was black with black hair and dark glasses. Is he blind? I looked down to the crazy giant-looking dog at his feet as I shivered seeing it look my way. The blind guy? I asked softly as Mason nodded. Yep. He's been listening in into our conversation this whole time. There's some people who want to know more about us. Our family. He said slowly as he suddenly pulled on my shirt, pulling me close to his face. I would be careful who you lie to. You don't know who might be listening, he said, letting go and standing up. Well, gotta go. Don't go sleeping around like you usually do, bro, he said, his attitude did a complete flip-flop from a serious one. Don't go sticking your dick in crazy, he said, laughing. Why is he pretending like we're old friends? Mason walked over to the door quickly walked out and down the road. Huh? I asked softly as the blind guy slowly stood up and tapped his dog. Follow, he ordered simply as the dog got up and started to walk after Mason. Shit. The blind guy was about to pass me. Stop, he said as the dog stopped moving. I started to sweat as he turned to me and bent down so we were at the same level. Hey, he said, as I turned to him only to be met by empty eye sockets. What? I was cut off. Be more careful. The guy is dangerous, the blind guy said as he pulled his black shades over his eyes. The man looked down at his dog. Follow, he said as the two walked after Mason. What just happened? I looked back down at my hands. Who was that guy? What the fuck was the dog? It looked like a weird bear? I was snapped out of my thoughts as a piece of paper was placed on my table. The bill, the waiter said. That dick left me with the bill. My face turned sour. Wait, for real? Oh gosh, that's kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie. This is the last thing we're gonna be reading. So, anyways, Yandere Alphabet, Dr. Julian Iceberg. Now, Iceberg, if you fuck this up, I'll fuck you up. I swear. Okay, anyways, and the author mentions that his name could be Ellis Gill, and then, they made a vote about it, but this is like a long time ago, so, yeah. Anyway. Affection. How would they show their love and affection? How intense would it get? He probably shows his affection by either very small romantic gestures or insults. I don't think it would be bad insults, just the occasional put down so no one has to see you in something he doesn't want. Saying something like, that lipstick doesn't look good on you, even though that lipstick looks great on you. He doesn't want anyone else to get to look at those gorgeous lips of yours. That skirt is kind of slutty, you know. No one gets to see your butt in something so tight unless it's him. Blood. How messy are they willing to get when it comes to their darling? I mean, if it doesn't get his ass killed, probably anything. I mean, he won't rob a bank or anything for you, but he'll do other stuff, like kill people. I mean, it's kind of easy in his workplace. All he has to do is tell a little fake lie about this person being a part of an evil organization against the Foundation. Seeing how he's Dr. Gear's assistant, his word would probably be trusted. Cruelty. How would they treat their darling once abducted? Would they mock them? He would treat his darling very cruelly, but that all depends on how fast they submit. If you immediately submit to him, he would probably be suspicious. You probably start to test the limits, like to see if you should jump if he touched you, seeing if you accepted his hugs and kisses, etc. No, he wouldn't mock his darling. He's just not into making his darling hate him more than he needs to. Darling. Aside from abduction, would they do anything against their darling's will? He wants hugs and cuddles almost immediately after kidnapping his darling. He went through a lot to get his darling, and he wants some loving. He would also hurt his darling against their will, but that's punishment. Exposed. How much of their heart would they bare to their darling? How vulnerable are they when it comes to their darling? I got nothing. Maybe he would show more of his heart when he really trusts his darling, but that's a long time away. Fight. How would they feel if their darling fought back? Annoyed and pissed. He has a short temper and will not hesitate to beat the shit out of his darling. See, he rules by fear, and fear is a powerful thing. Game. Is this a game for them? How much would they enjoy watching their darling trying to run? He's a tad serious about these things. He doesn't see it as a game and never will. He doesn't enjoy seeing his darling try and escape. He usually gets more annoyed and pissed off. He really hates it, and he's not at all happy about it. Hell. What would their darling's worst experience be with them? The psychological and physical tortures his darling would have to go through to earn his trust. If he does kidnap his darling, it would take a lot of convincing to see if they actually fell in love with him. Of course, he'll be overjoyed at the same time suspicious that they were just faking trying to leave him. Ideals. What kind of future do they have in mind for/with their darling? A cuddly bug of darling who is always ready to kiss and love him. He wants a wife and maybe a kid. He wants a life where he gets to go home with his wife and ready to do anything to satisfy him. You know that thing in anime where the wife is like, "Welcome home, dear. Would you like dinner, or maybe a bath, or perhaps me?" Like, he wants that. So misogynistic. It's giving 1950s. It's giving no freedom. To freedom, bitches, to freedom. Anyway, jealousy. Would they get jealous? Do they lash out or find a way to cope? He's extremely jealous, and he'll make sure his darling knows that he's extremely jealous. He does find a way to cope because he can't just kill everyone who comes up to his darling. The way he copes is by making sure his darling knows who they belong to. Wink wonk. Kisses. How do they act around or with their darling? Very cold and cruel in the beginning, but slowly start to warm up to them. Like his darling is melting his frozen heart. Don't get it backward, though. The second you feel suspicious of his darling's true intention, he'll pin them to the wall and threaten them to stay in their place. Love letters. How would they go about courting or approaching their darling? It is probably the most romantic in his courting, even though he's one of the most violent yanderes in this book. He likes doing these cheesy movie stuff. Roses, chocolate, handwritten letters/poems, the occasional finger from your worst born enemy, etc. This is a little example of what he would write if he wrote a love letter to us. The saying goes that if you give a girl a bracelet, it's equal to putting her in handcuffs. The saying goes that a ring is possessive, but if you were mine, I would give you a necklace, after all. The saying goes that a necklace is a collar, and I wish the world knew that you were mine, and mine alone. Snowflake drawing, ice. Mask. Are their true colors drastically different from the way they act around everyone else? It's kind of in the middle. He acts more loving and carefree once he believes his darling really loves him. If his darling doesn't really love him, he becomes more cruel and heartless. His normal self is a little more extreme. Naughty. How would they punish their darling? Pain and cruelty. His punishments are very painful and will leave more than a few scars. He'll cut, beat, maim, etc. If you run, he'll think, you don't need those legs, right? If you push him away, then he'll think, those arms of yours are getting in the way. He'll turn his darling into a doll of his creation. Oppression. How many rights would they take away from their darling? Pretty much everything. He only lets wine keep things she needs to stay alive, like food, water, etc. What was that? Clothes? Wine doesn't eat clothes. That's what Iceberg's chain. Was Iceberg's chain of thought. Well, your chain of thought should be the last thought you ever think of in this world, I swear. Patience. How patient are they with their darling? Not very patient. Not at all. He has little patience when he gets home from work. He does not want to deal with wine shit and will not tolerate any of it or nor put up with it. Quit. If your darling dies, leaves, or successfully escapes, would they ever be able to move on? If his darling dies. Well, you know that tale when Iceberg shoots himself in the head? Yeah? It wouldn't go well. If his darling leaves or escapes, he'll be beyond pissed. He'll start looking everywhere for her and won't stop until he finds her, not even eat or sleep. Oh, then you'll die really fast. Probably will die. Good. Regret. Would they ever feel guilty about abducting their darling? Would they ever let their darling go? He does not feel guilty about kidnapping his darling and will not be letting them go. That's a fact. He is quite unstable and won't see the error of his ways, no matter what you cry. Stigma. What brought about this side of them? Childhood, curiosity, etc. What brought this side out of his probably the stress of his work? He would see his darling as a comfort and escape from the real world. He feels like he's breathing in fresh air when he's with his darling. Tears. How would they feel about seeing their darling cry, scream, or isolate themselves? Annoyance. Nothing but annoyance. He doesn't feel any shred of guilt nor sadness. You have brought this on yourself to find him. Unique. What would they do different from the classic Yandere? He is much more violent, but at the same time, he's not around certain people. He might talk shit on the leave for researchers, but did not sell enough to confront them. He'd get his ass beat faster than he could even throw a whatever cocktail, and he knows that. That's why he's just trying to be first. Make it there before anyone else type of person. Vice. What weakness can their darling exploit in order to escape? His constant fatigue from work. He gets very tired some days and sometimes even forgets to feed his darling. His darling has to wait until he's in deep sleep, then they can try and escape. But the cuts and burns on your body hurt so much that you can't run forever. If he did that on purpose or not, we'll never know. Wit's end. Would they ever hurt their darling? Yes. X. How much would they revere or worship their darling? To what length would they go to win their darling over? He doesn't worship the ground his darling walks on, but he does worship them to some extent. He would go as far as he needs to, but he won't die for his darling. If he comes face to face with something he wants, his darling, and he doesn't have a way out, you know he's gonna hand your sweet ass over and run. So a pathetic bitch. What a pathetic son of a bitch. I'll tell you that right now. Like, you go through all these lengths just to give us up to someone else because you're scared and you have no way out. Take that fat L, Iceberg. Take that fat L, bro. Oh my gosh. But hey, at least we won't be with him. Zenith. Would they ever break their darling? Physical torture is a lot to endure. He would probably break his darling into 10 million pieces. A shell of her former self. A creation of his design. But that's a double-edged sword. he might end up killing his darling, seeing that he isn't really trained in the field of torture, nor medical attention. You know what, Iceberg? You can kiss my ass, bro, because what the fuck is this? Like, bro, I expected a bit better from you, but at the same time, I didn't. This is very disappointing. Not in the author's way, like, the author did amazing, but in a way, like, I'm disappointed in you, Iceberg. What the hell, bro? Like, straight up, you're gonna just ditch us like that? Like, real fast? Like, as soon as you can't beat something? Oh my god, I hope someone beats your ass at work. I swear. I'm gonna be laughing and giggling, I swear. Anyways, guys, what do you guys personally think is the best Yandere alphabet that you guys, like, have heard? Because so far we've read at least 3 of them. Okay, so here, let me go through the list of how many we read. So, first one we read was with Dr. Otto Clef, which was, it was something. Then we read Dr. Dr. Bright. Then we recently read Kondraki. And then we read this one. Which one do you guys think is the best to go with and, like, the best option if you had to choose one of them? Please let me know in the comments down below. I've read the other ones in this series, but those are, like, probably in other videos and stuff like that. They're easily findable, though, because, like, they're always, like, the beginning. You'll find them if you look deep enough, but if you've made it this far, please let me know which one you would choose if you only had, like, one. You had to choose one. Let me know which one's the best. Because I'm telling you right now, Dr. Iceberg is not going to be the one. He is not going to be the one. I'll tell you that right now. He is not going to be the one. Because he is not the one for me. He is giving abusive husband. Is giving just straight up wanting a punching bag. This is what he's giving, and it's disgusting. It really is. Anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more amazing videos, guys. Please stay safe out there, and I again hope you guys had an amazing Halloween. Hopefully got safe and delicious candy, and maybe hopefully got them full bars, you know, because sometimes you go to rich neighborhoods and get them full bars, you know. Delicious, right? Delicious. You know. Anyways, you girls gotta go. Bye and peace.